Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Objective. I'm your host Jay, and I want to thank every single one of you for stopping by to listen to some more interesting content. If this is your first one, I implore you to check out episode 1, which is objectivity and how it relates to conservatism, and episode 2, one of my personal favorites, social justice versus justice. Is social justice the same thing as justice, or is there a difference? Find out next time. Well, not exactly next time. I guess the podcast is already done. So be sure to check it out, guys. And also, I do upload to my YouTube channel, which is newly created. I would love to have some more traffic on YouTube. So if you are listening on SoundCloud, please make your way over to my YouTube channel. It is The Objective Podcast. That's the name of the channel. Subscribe if you'd like to support. And I truly do appreciate each bit of support that you folks give me. There's been a lot happening, a lot of developments in regards to President Donald Trump's immigration enforcement. There have been reports of ICE agents, ICE standing for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, conducting arrests and individuals who are found illegally and undocumented in the country, primarily with felony offenses and even misdemeanor offenses, are being deported. This is causing quite the stir, especially by those who are advocates of the left. And when you think about it, I guess it's normal and natural to assume that an endeavor so controversial would produce such a storm. CNN actually focused on one mother in particular who has been in the United States for a decade, 2 decades. So she's been here for quite some time. She's established herself. She's possibly started a family, a job, and most of her assets are in America. And she does have a criminal record, so she was charged. And she was also deported back to Mexico. And her family obviously is upset. And a lot of people view this as a very ethical issue. And this is why President Donald Trump faced a lot of kickback when it came to his policy on immigration. Now, is Donald Trump wrong? No, he's not. He's absolutely within his legal authority and presidential power to enforce the law. And that should be clear, folks, that Donald Trump isn't doing anything unconstitutional. He's merely enforcing the law. And obviously, being humans, there are emotions attached to us and to that fact. And that's why Donald Trump stated that he would be going after the illegals who have felony records and misdemeanors, or just a criminal record, I should say. In terms of those illegal immigrants who are in the country with no criminal record, that's where Donald has, or I should say President Donald, has used his discretion. And it seems like the priority right now is getting the illegal and violent and individuals who have criminal records out of the country and back to Mexico. In regards to people who are here illegally and haven't been convicted of a felony crime or a misdemeanor, what I believe is ethical is that, yes, these people be deported, but they be given the opportunity to seek citizenship via the correct channels. And the reason why I say this, some of you listening may disagree, but the reason why I say this, the spirit behind why I say that is not because I am a racist. Instead, it's because there are a plethora and a multitude of immigrants from south of the border who have gone through the proper channels. They have gained their citizenship legally. There are those who are still waiting to gain their citizenship legally. They've gone through all the proper channels, proper avenues. Some have been declined. Some have been accepted. And they've gone through due process. And due process is what allows for a successful society. And so when you put a blind eye to the breaking of certain laws, when you essentially circumvent the law, you are setting a precedent. And that's one of the biggest things when it comes to politics and policy. What is the precedent that you're setting? Because there is such thing as a slippery slope. And I think if you could use your mind's eye, the conservative brand tries to keep the country off of that slippery slope. Whereas the liberal brand tends to push a little closer and closer to the edge. And not out of a spirit of rebellion, but more so passion. In other news, Ivanka Trump has had her brand pulled from Nordstrom. Now, this is interesting. It doesn't seem ethical. Not at all. Not even the slightest. Now, people have their reasons for disliking Donald Trump. He has said some very controversial, rude, distasteful, and politically incorrect things. And Donald Trump should be judged based on those things. However, keeping in mind that he is the president of the United States and he won the candidacy. But to channel your frustration towards his family members and trying to hurt him through his family members, or actually realizing that you are unable to hurt him because he has a strange sense of tenacity. I don't know if it's a grease coating that he puts on every morning, but it takes a great deal of tenacity and mental power to continue on your course despite being verbally abused and maligned by the general public and professional, quote unquote, news establishments. And like I said, Donald Trump has said enough things to get him in hot water. He's not helping himself in any way, shape, or form. But he does seem very resilient and unaffected by the critique that he gets from all corners of the earth. His daughter, however, I don't see how or why she should be punished for the disliking of her father. Strange, really. And the other day, I was told by a colleague of mine, let me just check the time here to see how much time I have. We're going a bit over, but the other day I was advised by a colleague that at a university, Andrews University in Michigan, Berrien Springs, Michigan. It's a Adventist university that I attended. They had a keynote speaker come in for Black History Month. And this is not verbatim, folks. I actually have not heard the audio of this speaking engagement. However, I am working on getting it, and I actually do intend on contacting the speaker. His name is Conrad Vine. And therefore, keep in mind that I have not seen this. This is strictly from third-party information. But he said something along the lines of this. He stood on the podium and he said, "Those of you who voted for Trump need to seriously reevaluate your spiritual walk. I was blown away when I was told this. When a school, Christian or secular, begins to persuade or manipulate or guilt trip a certain group based on a vote, and then go as far to say you need to reevaluate your personal walk with God, that to me was really indicative of the intolerance, the misplaced righteousness, the feigned righteousness of certain individuals. And you know what? It actually leads me to a news article that I read, and I actually tore it out of a newspaper. I can't remember which newspaper it was. It was maybe a couple months ago. I'm just opening it here. This is by John Carpe, and the title is "Stop Sheltering Our Students." We'll look deeper into this later on. The first sentence that he has here is, "Society never becomes more tolerant, but merely shifts the target of its intolerance." It really stuck out to me as true. And the imagery that I get when I think of that is, let's say that tolerance and intolerance, let's say that it's currency. And we have a savings account and a checkings account. We'll call the savings account conservatism, and the checkings account, we'll call it liberalism. It seems to me that society on a whole is withdrawing tolerance from their conservative account and depositing intolerance into that account. And in turn, it's now reallocating that tolerance and placing it in the liberal values account. The world is changing, folks. Pay very close attention to how the world is changing. Thank you so much for watching tonight. Stay tuned for more episodes. I have a pretty interesting lineup for you guys. But what I want you to remember, folks, is that it should be your objective to be objective. Have a good night.